why must we as people keep suffering? That's the main topic I want you to keep in mind throughout this video. At the beginning of Takopi's original sin, we'll meet Shizuka. She's a child who is extremely broken. Basically, I would say a step above depression. I mean, she meets Takopi, the protagonist of the story. And yes, I consider Takopi the protagonist because the story mostly revolves around him, his perspective, and his name is on the title, like some Naruto type stuff. Anyways, Takopi has happy gadgets. These are gadgets that could basically bend reality around you. Your average child will look at these tools and probably be in wonder, happily excited to be able to fly and such. But here's the thing though, what is magic to a child? Heck, Santa bringing gifts to you under your tree in Christmas is magic to a child. Anything that makes you feel wonder and happiness, that is magic. And Shizuka hasn't felt happiness in a long time. So to her, magic does not exist. To a child, there is no difference between being able to fly the skies and seeing your father after a long time. Both of those are magic. Shizuka did not only lose her father, but she gets bullied, beat up, and her mother practically lives as if she doesn't exist, neglecting Shizuka. And so because she has convinced herself magic doesn't exist, she cannot see the magic right in front of her. This is a thing in real life. When people are really sad, when they're really depressed, when they lose something that is truly valuable to them, they are unable to appreciate other blessings that they have in their life. And so let's meet another of our main characters, Marina. Marina is the antagonist for most of the story. She's basically a bully who beats up, humiliates, and basically pushes Shizuka to the edge. When you first watch the first few episodes of this anime, you kind of see her as unforgivable. Heck, even after finishing the story, some people might still see her as unforgivable. But that's the thing, that is just your perspective. We all like to pretend that we are really good judges of character, but the reality is the best person you know, the best person that you can think of, is hated by many other people who also think they're good judges of character. You are the antagonist in someone's story, I'm sorry to say. No matter how good you think you are, somebody out there looks at you and thinks you are the worst person imaginable. And from the perspective the show lends us at the start, Marina is the worst person imaginable. And at this point, Shizuka is nothing but a victim, someone who can do no wrong and must be protected at all costs. So now let's talk about Takopi. Who is Takopi in this story? What purpose does he play? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Well, no, Takopi is our ignorance. You see, when we look at story surface level, we usually think, hey, we can find a simple answer for this. Takopi's goal is simply to make Shizuka smile. That in itself is a noble goal. What could possibly go wrong at wanting to make someone smile? But that's where the show gets you. It challenges those who think these are always the simple answers. Anyways, Takopi does everything he possibly can to try to make Shizuka smile. Marina just keeps doing more terrible and more terrible stuff to Shizuka. And so, what's the simple answer to when something is being objectively bad? You get rid of it. And so, Takopi does one of the most unforgivable acts you can think about. He murders a child. A child with a mother, a father, friends, people who will miss them, someone who still had their whole life ahead of them to change. So why is it that such a terrible act felt so fucking good to the audience? Takopi finally manages to make Shizuka smile. He fulfilled his goal. This is our happy ending, right? No, this is Takopi's original sin. But that's the thing though, I think as an audience, you're supposed to feel happy in this scene. It is celebrated, it is painted as a good thing. Very bright, happy music and colors. At this point in the anime, this is supposed to make you happy. The anime deceived you, manipulated you into being happy of a child's murder, and now that you're satisfied, it's gonna rub your face on it. You see, the anime did a genius move here by killing off Marina. Even if Marina went home and got beat by her parents, you wouldn't care because you already decided that you hate Marina. You already decided that she is the bad guy, she is the enemy. Any damage that comes to the bad guy is good, right? But now Takopi is Marina. Our hero who defeated the villain is there now. He is the one going through hell, he's the one being abused, he is the one being beat, but he is our hero, so we feel bad for him. And Takopi starts realizing that he made a mistake. This was never a story of a hero versus a villain. This is a story of two victims. Not to mention that they're children, easily impressionable. So we're gonna jump ahead a little bit. Later in the story, we find out that Marina, the reason she hits people is because she's constantly being hit by her mother. Without wanting to, she is replicating something she hates. It's just how we are when we're younger. We replicate behavior. We also find out that Shizuka's mom is let's just say she sleeps around, and she was doing that with Marina's father, and that is why her mother abuses her, Marina. However, something else that we see is that there's a point where Marina's mom is good to her. It's when she thinks Marina has a boyfriend, but when all that falls apart and Shizuka steals them from her, the mother breaks and starts abusing her again. You see, Marina has a crush on a boy, but this boy always had a crush on Shizuka instead. This adds the final layer we need to why Marina hates Shizuka, to why she wants to kill Shizuka, but never does. You see, Marina's Marina's dream is to be a good mother because she hates the way her mother is. But Marina thinks the only reason her mother is the way she is because her father was stolen away by Shizuka's mother. And so I think it's very possible that Marina believes that if Shizuka steals her crush, it becomes inevitable that Marina ends up like her mother. Her dream of being a good mother would end right there and then. And so she constantly hates Shizuka, hoping that she will one day disappear. Instead, Marina is the one that ended up gone, and it is revealed that this is also a dream that Shizuka had. She wanted Marina to disappear as well. They both had extreme hate for each other, but they're just kids. They would never actually end the other. But then Takopi committed his original sin, and he awakened something in Shizuka. Now, murder is an option. When Shizuka finds out her father remarried, she is ready to kill those kids. And when she finds out Takopi isn't 100% supporting her anymore, she is ready to hurt him. By showing Shizuka that violence is the answer, he destroyed her innocence. He destroyed his innocence as well. Inside of every human being, there is an innate want to want to destroy us, who hurt us, who make us sad. But we usually don't cross that line because deep inside we know it's wrong. But if you give in, if you let it take over you, you can cross that line. And when you do, your life will never be the same. That is why superheroes usually have a no killing rule, because it stops killing from being this unforgivable sin, and instead it becomes an option. And as this anime has shown us, it is impossible for one person to be a good enough judge of character to decide who lives and who dies. The fact is that we are a very small part in this world that we live in, and because of how big and scary the world is, because of how random things can feel sometimes, we sometimes are desperate for control over something. We want to be able to say, I can just do this and stop the suffering. If something is making me feel bad, I can take the easy path to make it stop. So just delete everything that makes you hurt. But if you take that route, you'll realize that that is a lonely and sad route that can end up multiplying your pain instead. So what is the answer? What would have solved everyone's problems in Takopi's original sin? What does solve it all? You see, the true enemy in Takopi's original sin is loneliness. Shizuka, despite her depression, she didn't go over the edge until she lost her dog, her last support. From Marina's perspective, she didn't go over the edge until she had to end her mom. In those dark moments, instead of trying to find more people to connect with, they isolated themselves. They felt as if they had no one else they could rely on, and so they took that way out. At the end, your biggest enemy will always be yourself, your memory, those thoughts that tell you that there's no point on keeping going. But it is in those moments that it's most important to grit your teeth and keep moving forward. In the final episode, after all the crimes Shizuka committed, Takopi was still there for her. Yes, she beat Takopi, but he reassured her that it's okay and that he's gonna be there for her. He was the replacement for Shappy, for the dog. She was not alone anymore. I think there is a universe where Takopi ends with Shizuka and Takopi just alone and on the run maybe. But Takopi had a lot of promises to keep. I do want to touch on Asuma. So Asuma is one of the main characters of the show. He always feels inadequate because his brother is perfect and he is not. And his mother treats him less because he's not as good as his brother. He feels like he has nobody to depend on. Like there's nobody that relies on him except Shizuka. However, Shizuka ends up taking advantage of him, telling him to turn himself in for her crimes, and he considers it. But thankfully, he's one of the characters that is not alone. When he was nearly about to turn himself in, his perfect brother talks with him, and Asuma comes clean, and the brother obviously tells him not to turn himself in. I really don't think you can neglect this part of the story because it shows how we isolate ourselves in our mind even when we are not truly alone. We like to paint others as our enemies despite them not thinking of that way themselves. Fact is, if every character in this show had someone they could rely on, like a mother, a father that was really reliable and respectable, even an older brother like Asuma here, this story wouldn't have been able to happen because somebody would have done the right thing. Somebody would have fixed this dispute between children like a normal adult would. But because everybody was alone, everything spiraled out of control. So what about the characters that are in the story, the kids, right? What held them back? And that was fear. Takopi got so scared of Marina that he couldn't even move. To some degree, it stopped him from helping Shizuka. But that's the thing. What was he afraid of? He was scared of pain. We as humans instinctively fear pain. And so we try to distance ourselves from it as much as possible. But a fear of pain is a fear of growing. You will never truly develop into what you need to be if you keep running away from pain. Sometimes in life, you must grit your teeth and push through that pain. Feeling like you should always be happy and destroy everything that makes you sad, that's childish, that's immature. You need to suffer in life. That's just unfortunately how it is. That's how you find the truth, that's how you grow, that's how you mature. There is no shortcut to true happiness. Sometimes you must suffer and that's okay. You need to accept that as a person, unfortunately. And so here we are at the end of the story. Takopi, who was afraid of getting hit, is ready to sacrifice his life. He is willing to pay the price so hopefully his friends can find true happiness. Shizuka, all she cares about is not being alone. She finally has someone who will not abandon her, Takopi, and here he is leaving her again. I'm sure she would have rather him stayed, but he knows he needs to take responsibility for his original sin, and he does by sacrificing himself to go back in time one more time. And then the story goes back to the beginning. We see Marina being bad and Shizuka being good again. These characters haven't been corrupted yet. These characters that maybe we hated by the end of the story, they are not those people anymore. It shows that everyone is capable of good and bad. Everybody's capable of being the hero and the villain in any story. Thanks to Takopi's sacrifice, they subconsciously remember their memories with them, and they managed to bond over that. Because Takopi surpassed his fear of pain because he was willing to take action when he needed to, he finally got his wish and they talked things out. Because at the end, when you're truly alone, who can you really rely on? Well, that's simple. Other people that are alone, so you can be alone together. Because no matter how flawed we all want someone to be there to tell us that it's okay, that we are okay. And the story ends and there's a fast forward and Marina still has the scar on her face. Their mothers and parents clearly haven't changed, but because they are not alone, they can keep moving forward. And the final shot shows them smiling, but at the same time, the pictures are perfectly cut in half so that half the face looks like a perfect smile and the other half still has the suffering in it. Ironically, the part with the scar is the half of Marina's face that still looks in pain. But this comes to show that you don't need to have a perfect life to live a happy and fulfilling life. Thank you so much for watching and for hearing my perspective of how I took Takopi's story. I really love this anime. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and following me on twitch.tv/lightperformer, where I stream almost every day. Your support means everything to me. Thank you for watching till the end.